next, huh? Still want to go to the tree? Huh? You think I want to do this? I am trying to keep you alive. Don't you see that? I can't help you if you don't let me. I can't.
What is up, From fans? Jeremy Eisenfire here, and welcome to the channel. Well, here we are, folks. The 5th episode of From is here, entitled The Light of Day, which means we have now officially crossed the midway point of Season 3, and this season has already been chock full of shocking character deaths, heartbreaking scenes, big twists, and even a few long-awaited answers, with some bigger ones hopefully still on the horizon. And one thing's for sure, as we head into the back half of Season 3, the town, and Boyd included, are certainly being pushed to their brink, which has never been more apparent than this episode in particular, as we see just how dangerous desperation can be here in Fromville. The episode starts off with Boyd retrieving Randall from outside after being dumped on the ambulance by the monsters, and of course Randall is very upset with Boyd for being left behind to die, which he loudly conveys in front of the whole of Colony House, which is already leading to a few raised eyebrows in Boyd's direction, which is something we will see become a theme in this episode. People are starting to question Boyd's decisions. But luckily for Randall, he is not too severely injured, and Mari is able to sew him up. And one thing I have noticed, they have certainly been giving Mari a lot more scenes in Season 3, and with the very interesting foreshadowing from Christy earlier in the season, of her stating to Kenny not once but twice, that if anything happens to her, he won't be alone. Which is starting to suspiciously sound an awful lot like a potential foreshadowing for Christy's inevitable death, and for Mari to take over as medical lead in the town. After all, we did hear from Jeff Pinker, the showrunner, that we would be losing a few of our most beloved characters this season, and so far I can only count one beloved character that we have actually lost, that of course being Tien Chen. Now yes, of course, we have also lost Nikki, and we went on to lose Dale in this episode as well, but I wouldn't exactly consider either of those characters beloved. But definitely let me know your thoughts and theories down below. Which other beloved character do you think will not make it out of Season 3 alive? But next, we see that Jade, Kenny, and Christy have arrived back in town, to a much different town than the one that they had left, with not only there being new arrivals in town, but also the return of Tabitha, which sends Jade running in her direction. Which I certainly hope is the beginning of another epic team-up between these two characters, as Jade and Tabitha had some really good scenes together in Season 2. But first, we cut to Victor and Sarah on their way to Colony House to get supplies before they descend down into the cave to look for Jasper. In last week's episode, we got the reveal of a long-time fan theory of who this puppet really belonged to, as many believed it did belong to Christopher, which we did get that confirmation. But now we're learning a little bit more, that this puppet may have once belonged to Christopher, but it seems like the roles may have been reversed, as it seems like leading up to the 1978 massacre, Christopher had become the puppet, and Jasper had become the puppeteer, leading Victor to believe that Jasper can provide some more concrete answers. And I'm really looking forward to the scene where Victor descends back into those caves again. I get the feeling we're going to see some pretty interesting things down there. After all, these showrunners did state in a behind-the-scenes clip during Season 2 that there could be some clues down in the caves that might help Jade solve the mystery of that symbol. And could it even be Jasper himself that might be able to provide those answers? But unfortunately, Victor's plans are halted as he is hit with a shocking revelation. First, with Donna revealing that Tabitha has returned to town, which makes Victor very happy at first, as he and Tabitha did form a pretty strong connection towards the end of Season 2. But then she drops the bombshell that Victor's father is not only here in Fromville, but he is upstairs waiting for him in his room right now, which sends Victor into a panic.
Victor, your dad is here.
That's not possible.
He's upstairs.
No.
Look, I know this is a lot to take
No.
in.
No.
Victor!
No!
Which eventually leads to a very heartfelt scene between Sarah and Victor, as Victor reveals why he is so hesitant to meet his father, and how he is afraid that his father will be disappointed that he is not still the boy that he once remembered when he disappeared. But I also gotta hand it to Sarah in this scene. She really says exactly what Victor needs to hear in this moment, explaining to him that he might not be the only one that is afraid of this reunion, and how Victor's father might also be afraid to be a disappointment and not be what Victor expects. Which we also learn in this episode is pretty accurate to how Henry feels himself, as we learn a little bit more about the trauma that Henry has been dealing with over the past few decades and the guilt that he has carried not being able to find his family. Guilt that has only multiplied for Henry upon arriving here in Fromville and learning that his son grew up in this nightmare all alone without his dad to protect him.
For the first few years, every time I'd turn a corner, there'd be this little spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, I'd see all of them there. They'd smile and laugh. We'd all cry together about what a terrible mistake it all was.
And I must say, it is pretty awesome to see a veteran actor like Robert Joy join the cast of From. I'm really looking forward to some of his other scenes with the rest of the cast. Back at the town, we see Jade has arrived at the Matthews house, looking for answers about the tree and about the lighthouse, and hoping to return back to it. But unfortunately for Jade, he is not the only one seeking answers from Tabitha, as the entire town has been in an uproar since her return, leading to the highly anticipated town meeting, which goes about exactly as you would expect, as the entire town is demanding answers from Tabitha, answers that Tabitha simply just doesn't have. As we see characters like Dale, Bacta, and even Fatima and Ellis stand up and challenge Boyd in front of the whole town, which is something you can come to expect from a character like Dale, but Ellis in particular certainly should have known better. He knows how the town is being stretched to the brink, and his father is doing everything he possibly can to keep everybody alive, a task that is becoming more and more difficult for Boyd as more and more people of the town are starting to question his decisions, even his own son. As the meeting ends with Dale demanding to know where the tree is, a light foreshadowing for his fate later on in the episode. But during the town meeting, we got a really interesting scene between Julie and Elgin back in Colony House. Julie, of course, sneaks into Fatima's room to steal her stash of cannabis, leading to her and Elgin getting properly baked as they share their trauma with one another. Elgin, of course, fills Julie in on the creepy kimono creature he has been seeing, and Julie fills Elgin in that the weed is apparently the only thing that quiets the voices inside of her head since waking up from the cicada coma, followed by them descending into the basement to explore a little bit. And I must say, it was pretty refreshing to see teenagers just acting like teenagers again, and being able to have a little bit of escapism from this nightmarish landscape, even if just for a moment, as we see them messing with a Polaroid camera they find in the basement, along with some 80s retro gear. And the Polaroid was very interesting, and certainly made me think, was this the same Polaroid camera that took the picture of Christopher? And the 80s retro gear was a very interesting item as well, which potentially points to other people arriving in Fromville after the 1978 massacre, and potentially being killed off long before Donna would arrive years later. We also get a pretty interesting scene between Henry and Ethan as well, with Henry asking Ethan about the missing hotel, something the fans of From have wanted to know for a very long time. And I'm starting to think that we may have already gotten this answer in Season 2, when we see the complete destruction of the Matthews family home. Whatever powerful force was able to take down their home was able to leave every other house around it intact. And could this potentially also have happened to this hotel as well? Was this hotel destroyed by this same force while they left the rest of the town intact? Or could there be some other explanation? But as Ethan continues to show Henry more of the town, we finally arrive at the highly anticipated reunion that the episode had been building towards, as they run directly into Victor and Sarah. And I really cannot praise the performances of Scott McCord and Robert Joy enough, and the writing of John Griffin. This was one of the most heartfelt reunions I've seen in a very long time, and the dialogue in particular from Victor, the "I couldn't find my way home" part, was a perfect example of Victor really still being that 10-year-old boy trapped in this adult body.
It's okay. Everything's okay.
Victor. Victor.
know how to get home. I didn't know how to get home.
It's okay.
It's okay.
And this was definitely one of my favorite scenes of the season, and one of the aspects I love about From the most. Now, yes, this show is filled with tons of mystery and tons of foreshadowing, and of course we all want answers to these questions eventually, but it's the human element of this show that really matters. Even the creator of the show, John Griffin, has stated in the past that the inner workings of this town and the humans that live in it is the ultimate point of the story. Yes, the mystery box aspect of the show is certainly very popular, and I definitely think we will get answers to all of these questions eventually. But at the end of the day, it is just a mechanism to propel the human element part of this plot forward. It's not merely a mystery box show, but a very keen insight into the human condition. What does fear do to people? What does trauma do to people? What does having the weight of the world on your shoulders do to people? All of which are very keen insights into how humans operate. So I'm very much enjoying how the show is giving us a very healthy mix of both mystery and the human drama. But next, the episode nears its end as Tabitha does finally agree to take Jade back to the bottle tree, where they can hopefully learn something new. But unfortunately, they only end up with more questions than answers, as they try to analyze some of these bottles and the numbers inside of them, with Jade suggesting that they could potentially be dates, which is something the entire fandom has been wondering for a very long time as well. But then Tabitha shows Jade that one of the numbers is 2659, which, unless it is a date from the very far future, these might not be dates at all, or at least they may not be dates in the way that we're thinking of them. Instead of 1864 or 2659, what if it is 2659, as in February the 6th, 1959? There's also some fans who think these numbers could potentially be partial coordinates, which could very well be possible as well, and how taking some of these bottles down might have messed with the direction of this faraway tree's destination, which could certainly be plausible. After all, when Tabitha used the tree, none of the bottles had been taken down at that point, and it led her straight to the lighthouse. Yet after the bottles were taken down, we see Dale enters the tree with disastrous consequences, as Dale has apparently followed Jade and Tabitha to the faraway tree in hopes of stepping inside it and finding a way home. But unfortunately for Dale, we see a shocking turn of events as he is transported directly into the concrete wall of the pool, as we see Boyd and the entire town gathered around to witness. And this scene, of course, was a direct callback to Season 1, Episode 4, when Victor first showed Ethan the faraway tree, and stated how sometimes they can be dangerous and temperamental, and how sometimes you can get stuck in a mountain. Which is even something that Boyd tried warning Dale and the rest of the town at the town meeting, as he recounts his story of stepping into one of these faraway trees, only to end up stuck in a shaft underground. And Boyd's reaction here was another incredible performance by Harold Perrineau. You can really see that he is being pushed to his absolute brink, and he is doing everything he possibly can to keep these people alive, but they are certainly not making this job easy on him.
Okay. Who's next? Huh? Still want to go to the tree? You think I want to do this? I am trying to keep you alive. Don't you see that? I can't help you if you don't let me. I can't.
At this point, Boyd is starting to remind me more and more of the Greek titan Atlas, forced to hold up the heavens on his shoulders for all eternity after being cursed by Zeus, as Boyd certainly seems to be holding up this entire town on his shoulders as well. But there we have it, folks, another episode down and another completely bizarre death in the books. And it should also be pretty interesting to see where this Ellis and Fatima storyline goes, especially with Ellis now finding out that Fatima has been eating rotten food, even though she conveniently left out the part about her going full cannibal. But I suppose baby steps are probably in order with regards to information like this. But that is going to do it today for our Episode 5 breakdown, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like on your way out, and consider subscribing to stay up to date on all of our upcoming content. And as always, don't forget to come and hang out with us live every Saturday and Sunday night for our pregame and live watch parties. And as always, keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and I will see you on the next one.
Everyone out of the way! Out of the way! They're attacked!
All right, okay, stop. Okay? No. Hey, that's all right. Take it easy. Take it easy. No. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna hurt yourself. Take it easy. You fucking left me out there, man. You fucking left me out there. You fucking left me.